Kaizen session. Um, we have Gracious and myself on um, today's session, basically today's meeting. So initially we had started after the break with specialized knowledge, where Elvis and Lukman did a fantastic job. Imagination. Then we moved on to imagination the following week. Chinwe and Moradeyo also, destroyed that as usual. And then organized planning was the next, which we did last week with Scholar Idris with the masterclass, and then um, our seniors, Kazim, which they also helped us to, to really dissect. And so today we have myself and Gracious on the call to speak on today's theme, to review the section of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, basically. And um, the theme or the title for this chapter is decision, right? Honestly, I really want to hear what Grace has to say. I've done my own bit of, reading, but I'm really open to a different perspective on this topic because it's really an interesting one. So without wasting much time, I'll just hand over to Grace to sort of, you know, take it away, basically. So thank you so much for joining again, and we appreciate everyone in this Kaizen session. All right, Grace, over to you.
Okay, thank you for that introduction. And I'm sorry to keep everyone waiting, but I would be seated in a few minutes and I'll be ready to go in a few minutes. I would need like 3 minutes to be seated, basically.
All right. All right. That's okay. So before you before you come on board, let me just take this to give my own 2 cents, right? So this chapter, decision, is one that is key for me because it starts with the definiteness of decision. Definiteness means you understand what you are doing and you are sure. You've defined it, you've narrowed the scope. There's something in my workplace, there's something we usually term scope creep. You've narrowed the scope so much that you are sure that there is no scope creep and you are sure, you are 100% certain that this is the route that you want to go. And that word, that phrase in itself, definiteness of decision, sort of summarizes everything that I need to know. And so it gives me a lot more clarity as to how and when I would be confident enough to say to myself that this decision, I'm definite about it, and this is the route I'm going to take. Of course, Napoleon for that goes down to break a lot of other things down um, as to how you can reach the decisions promptly, how you should not be influenced by opinions, and all of that, which I know Gracious is going to delve into in 2 minutes or less. But I mean, the definiteness of decision in itself is is a straightforward, is like a plain manuscript to say, if you really want to do something, you would have already done it based on this, and this, according to Napoleon. If you really want to do something, it means that I did not say you would do it, though. I say you would have already done it. That's how clear this chapter makes decision making. It's so clear. You cannot say that you don't know what to do. It's because you've not done some certain things. That's why you don't know what to do. If you do this, and this, you won't be unclear about what to do because the decision in itself will come to you. And that's how strong I feel about it. I don't know, Grace, are you good to go now?
Okay, I am good to go. Thank you so much for that. I am here now and I am ready to
Okay,
begin.
good. So,
I hope I can do this without turning my camera on.
yeah, I believe so, but would have loved to see your face as well, but it's fine. Go ahead, please.
Okay, maybe somewhere in the middle, I might see about turning my camera on. So, good evening,
That's
everyone.
fine.
I'll greet everyone again. How we doing? I hope we all had a lovely, lovely day. Today, we are talking about like one of the most important parts of a human's life. In fact, I would say it's the most important part of living because it determines where we all end up. It determines the destination we'll find ourselves at the end of the day. We as humans make at least 33,000 to like 35,000 decisions a day. So that just goes to show how important this particular chapter is in the life of every human being. And it's not just in the making of decisions, right? It's in the quality of the kind of decisions that we're making. And I think that's what Napoleon Hill is trying to that's where Napoleon Hill is trying to drive us to in this chapter, the quality of our decisions. From when you open your eyes in the morning to when you close your eyes at night, it is a decision to even get out of bed, to do anything. It is a decision. So now the chapter opens with the importance of this and how the lack of decision can basically just upend your life, especially in this part of the world where growing up, we are not exactly given the liberty to make a lot of decisions because our parents make a lot of the decisions for us until we get to a certain age. Sometimes, even while we are still in the university, in colleges, we don't get to make a lot of our decisions. So we rely a lot on our parents, our guardians, and all of those people to help us or guide us in making decisions. And while this is good, it also is not such a great thing because we cannot it's now difficult to make decisions promptly. And that is one of the most important part of making decisions, making it promptly and sticking with it. Because I've come to notice, being a struggling procrastinator myself, that when when we decide or when I decide to do something and I don't push through with it immediately, a lot of doubts start creeping in. A lot of what ifs start creeping in. A lot of should I not? It could go this way. In fact, you start seeing all the things that could possibly go wrong compared to the probably one reason why it would go right. And that can completely stop you from making that decision. And they say until you try, you actually never really know. And because of we dwell a lot on what ifs and should we not, or this could go wrong in 1,001 ways, we might never take that step that we need to take, and we might never reach that destination where we are meant to go. And that would lead to mediocrity and basically an average life. And you would not really fulfill your purpose of existence. Now, there is the 1% in the world where they are not just rich and successful, but they are fulfilled people. And there is a quality trait that Napoleon Hill makes us see in these sorts of people. It's their ability to make their decisions quickly. So when something comes to their mind, when they have an idea, okay, let's use a very recent um, innovator in our century and in our lives, Elon Musk. He had the idea to create a car that runs on battery, and he did it. He wants to go to space, he did it. We have the cyber truck, we have a lot of things that he has done, and everybody's looking at this man like, oh my god, you are unreal. Like your mind works in such marvelous ways. But I feel the reason why we are in awe of him is because he does not limit his imagine. Like if he thinks it, then he can achieve it. It might take time, but he will achieve it. But once you decide to do something, you should not let um the what is the why it would not work hold you back or stop you. So you should be quick to make decisions, but hard to like very you should make it very, very difficult to change that decision, everybody will say that we all need a very good dose of stubbornness if you're going to make anything worthwhile out of your life, because nothing gets handed to you. Nothing. As long as you're a human in this world, you're going to have to fight for basically everything. And if you don't demand it, it's not going to get handed to you. Even if you were born with a silver spoon, even if you were born with the world at your feet, even if you were born with the prophecy that you are going to be this person, if you don't decide to actually fulfill that prophecy, if you don't decide to make the most of what you've been given, then you're just going to live an average life. And at the end of the day, you're going to ask yourself, oh, how did I end up here? You ended up here because you either failed to make decisions or you failed to make quality, good decisions. Are we following?
Yes, we are with
Definitely.
you.
Yes, we are.
Definitely. Yeah.
So now, moving further into the chapter, we realize Napoleon, he points to the fact that it's not, it's beyond just, okay, now making decisions and making them promptly. And another reason why people like often fail to make good decisions or even make decisions at all, it's because we have the penchant of drawing other people into that decision we want to make. A good friend once told me that advice is something you seek when you know the answer, but you're not strong enough to go through with it. So sometimes you're looking for either people to validate what you think, or you're looking for people to hold you back. So you feel like you have a good enough reason to not do what you're supposed to do. When you have something that you want to do, according to Napoleon Hill, you should keep your mouth shut and your ears and eyes open. This is not saying that you should not seek advice. This is not saying that you should not seek guardianship and mentorship and any of those things. But you should. There's a way to go about. There's a way to go about seeking these things, not outrightly telling people, "Oh, this is what you want to do, and this is why and how you want to do it." And people would always have opinions. If that's one thing that is you can count on, is that people will always have opinions, and some of half the time it might not really be something that these opinions might not really be the ones that would really motivate you to do the things that you're supposed to do. So when you're going about seeking advice, there's a way to go around it, that you're not outrightly say, "Oh, this is what I want to do," and that way you will not be getting biased opinions. You'll be getting just people's clear thoughts or real thoughts on that particular subject. But when you insert yourself and insert your desires into whatever it is the answers you're trying to find or the questions that you're asking, that is when opinions that are biased will start to come up, and it will start to confuse you. It will start to confuse you. And I would give this chapter is so personal to me. This chapter is so personal to me because I saw myself.
Gracious, are you still there? Can anyone hear me? Is it my network or
Yes, we can hear you, Moses.
It's
Okay.
my network, sorry.
Okay, it's fine. You're back now.
Giving an example of myself, where recently I was stuck in the decision of moving to Lagos or staying back at my where I was posted to for my service, and it was a very, very big hassle because I was like, my business is here, but my heart is in the other place, and I kept asking people for advice because low key I knew what I wanted, but I did not have the courage to go for what I wanted because there were so many factors, and I kept asking people, and it was a lot of back and forth. Long story short, I ended up not following my heart, and I am just following my head now, and I'm like, okay, you know what, whatever happens, happens. So while I was reading this chapter, it was like, oh God, this this one is for me. So when Napoleon says that, tell the world what you intend to do, but first show it. That is before you announce yourself, before you would say, oh, I have this plan, I have that plan, I want to do this, I want to do that. First, start doing it. So whatever advice it is that you get at the end of the day, whatever opinions that start cropping up to maybe mess with your mind or mess with your head or like stray you, it will be too late at that time because the wheels are already moving, everything's already in motion. So you can only keep going forward. And yes, it might sway you, but like I feel like when you start something, there is this desire to see it through so that you don't feel and look like a failure. So even if it doesn't work out fully at the end of the day, if it doesn't even pan out as a success at the end of the day, there is this peace and assurance you have instead that yes, it was something you wanted to do and you went for it, regardless of whatever it is any other person had to say about it. And it will not feel like so much of a failure because you will learn a lot from it. And next time you will definitely do better rather than not even starting at all or having to listen to what every other person has to say. And then you'll now be sitting with the had I known effects or situation or consequence. It's not a good place to be, honestly, because you never really know until you actually try. So now moving on further in the book is talking about how if you make a decision, you're going to stick with it. I would give another example of my auntie. She would say, if you decide to do something, even if it kills you, make sure you do it because your word should be your bond. If you're not somebody that says something and goes through with it, then you're not worth anything. You're not worth much. Power is in the tongue. So once you speak it out, the universe would come together. If you decide that, okay, you're going to put your best foot forward and make it happen, somehow the universe will come together to conspire and help you achieve that which you've already spoken that you want to do. As long as you stick with it. And honestly, most half the time, it's not an easy route at all. It's not. It might even mean that you might die in the process. Such as when we have the story of the independence of the United States of America. Before their independence in 1776, the seed that led to that was already sown in 1770. A small riot. But then two people stood up and decided and said that, we've about had it up to here. We need to start doing something about these people who are coming into our land and making our lives miserable. And these two men, we have Stephen Adams and we have John Hancock. And these two people, they sowed that seed of liberating America from the colonial rule of the British. And it was not an easy fight at all. If you know anything about history, you know if there's one thing that is hard to get, there's one thing that is hard, that is so hard to achieve, it is power. Especially when you don't even have the resources to get you that power. But then you just have to decide to go for that thing. You just have to decide that, okay, this is what you want, and it is not too big for you to achieve. Somehow, there is no, like, if you go on the internet, you realize that no matter how diabolical a thought is, there are people that it will resonate with, and there are people that are ready to pick it up and fight with you on that. No matter how terrible a human being you feel you are, trust me, there is a community for you out there. As long as you put yourself out there, you'll find your people. It just shows how much social we've been created to be. We are truly social beings. Like, we're not meant to be alone. And there is no how we can achieve anything from doing like by ourselves. Sometimes it might feel like the whole world is against you on certain things, but no matter know how, there is still one or two persons that are willing to stand with you in that decision you're making, and they're willing to push you. And this set of people we call the mastermind group. These are the mastermind circle. And Henry Lee, John Hancock, Stephen Adams, they had these people. But they did not just have these people one day. In fact, I'm not sure they knew they had these people. But they just had to stand up and take a stand on something first. After taking a stand, even when the life of Stephen Adams was threatened, that okay, you either take this bribe or like put your personal interests first, or we're going to get rid of you. He's like, he has made his peace with God, and he has made his peace with man. So whatever happens, really. If you're going to want to take my life for this, sorry, it's not Stephen Adams, Samuel Adams. If you're going to want to take my life for this, then go right ahead and take my life for it. And this is the power of purpose. This is the power of decisions. Because at the end of the day, if he now decides to like bend, or if he had decided to bend or cave under the pressure, maybe it would have taken longer for Americans to get their independence. Or maybe, in fact, it would have even died with his generation, and maybe another generation would have picked it up. Or maybe he would have not even found the 56 that he found that were willing to, that signed their names on that death document. As far as I'm concerned, it's a death document that, okay, we must get independence. We are going to fight these people and we are going to win. And if we don't win, we are going to die trying. But when he started, it was just him and his friend. But then it grew to a whole Congress. And today we have the United States of America as the pioneer of democracy, giving power to the people. And every other, most states in the world have followed in that path that they laid down. But if they were not willing to fight for that, if they were not willing to put their lives on the line for that, we would probably not have what we have now. Or maybe we would have it, but it would have taken longer. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say here.
Yes, Grace, Gracious, rather, we definitely do. Thank you so much for that.
So, you're welcome. So
that was
basically,
amazing.
in conclusion, the power of decisions is decisions are so powerful that they will either make or mar your life. And who you decide to bring along with you when you're making such decisions would either serve to propel you towards your destination or to hold you back and hold you down. So when you decide on something, you have to have faith. Like, you just have to see it in your mind's eye as it working. Even if there is 1,001 reason why it would not work, there is definitely one reason why it will work. Even if there is no reason why it would work, the fact that you're able to think about it means that it is possible. So just hold on to that and just with that. And you don't just go in blind. Do your research, learn, so that you can draw a game plan, draw a roadmap, organize yourself, plan, so that you're not just going in blind. It's one thing to have a desire. It's one thing to have faith that it will happen, but it's another thing to actually work it out.
Make it happen.
Work it out. Because even if you have faith and you don't put in the work, it is dead. Even if you're a genius and you're a student, if you don't actually take time to actually read one or two stuff, forget your brain is quick at assimilating and grasping stuff. You would still not know it because you don't know until you actually try to know. It's when you try to know, that's when you're armed with knowledge. And when you have the knowledge, you can now apply it. And that's where the wisdom comes in. So,
all right.
Thank
you so much, Grace. I know you can speak on this till 10 p.m. It's really an open conversation, to be honest. And I think we would like to also take feedback from members of the team. Thank you. That was a wonderful, wonderful review. I would just want to, we have like 3 or less than 3 minutes, so we just want to take one or two comments at the very least. Is there anyone? You can proceed to unmute, or you raise your hand and you'll be unmuted. One or two comments. Grace, thank you so much. So much. Yeah. While we're waiting for one or two comments, I just want to say one thing, right? And that's really what stuck it for me. Actually, two things. The first is they said, don't talk too much. Keep your eyes open and keep your eyes and your ears open and your mouth shut. And I've had several times when I want to do something, but because I've spoken too much about it, I lose the ginger or the zeal or and I hear people say, let's not talk about it, let's keep it quiet and just deal. And that's really shocking for me. And the second final thing is when you look at that sentence again, it talks about taking in data. When you listen, you open your eyes and your ears to receive information, to receive a lot of data that would guide you, to see, to hear people, to hear good opinions, to take in things that will guide your decision. In the business world today, there's no decision that is not guided by some level of data. And what is data? Data is what what you perceive from the world, the kind of information you collect. And your eyes and your ears are really the channels through which you gather those kind of data that sort of helps you build a good information base for your decision making. And that has just made me realize that maybe I need to listen more to be able to take some level of decisions. Of course, listen to my mastermind, listen to a lot of other ideas as well. But I need to speak less. Any other contribution? I think we're almost 1 minute to go.
Okay, thank you, Moses, and thank you, Gracious. The only thing I also want to emphasize is we should not misunderstand this chapter to mean that we should be the beginning, alpha and omega of our decisions. The mastermind concept was also emphasized, meaning that you need to seek opinion of people. You need to get some people that you know would protect your interests and constantly engage them to help you drive your agenda. Don't die in your own ignorance or don't think you know it all. Mastermind is key. But another concept to emphasize there is the fact that when you make decisions, go through a good process of making a decision and don't be quick to start changing it. Don't be what we call in secondary school, anywhere belle face. Just have a firm belief. Thank you, Moses, and thank you, Gracious.
Thank you so much, Kazim, for that. That was strong. Gracious, thank you so much. That was beautiful, right? And your voice is very easy to listen to. I still want to emphasize to everyone, I think we're at 8 o'clock on dot. Feel free to engage our social media handles. Feel free to also communicate when you can, drop off slides, comments, reviews, go to the video on YouTube and also engage as well. Helps us to know if there are things we can do better. And always share. All of these reviews are available. You can share the one that has been done like 10 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, to people that you know that to still be beneficial to them. So these contents are really done so that we can be able to reach more people, to gain more audience, and to influence more lives. We want people to be avid readers, we want people to be avid learners, and ultimately we want to help people to grow their lives better. So thank you so much once again. We're spot on 8 o'clock on the dot. I think I'll see you all next week for another exciting session. Grace, you were awesome. Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. Good night,
Bye.
everyone.
Good
Bye.
night.